Hello everyone. So the intent of this video is not to scare you, but I'm going to be real with you, because these classes, especially 421, is a little crazy. And I'm just going to say it, I'm just going to be honest. Um, Short disclaimer, I'm no counselor, therapist, or anyone in that field, but I have done heavy, heavy reflecting, and to establish some credibility, I have somehow have a 3.94 cumulative GPA, and I've been going through counseling for a couple of years, so I've gained a lot of tools I'd like to share with you. I also watch a decent bit of Jordan Peterson, hate him, like him. Some of his things I find a little useful. So I will stop wasting your time with this intro and get right into it. So, kind of the obvious: sleep and eating. Sleep will, as we all know and already experience, have some sacrifices. Just remember that, like we sleep so that our body can restore its functionality. It's not something we can think, it's just something that happens. It's like chemicals literally clean out the brain. We're like reset. So understand, if you don't already know what your limits are, that there is a limit. There's a point where we all crash. So make sure you keep that in check. If it's 6 or 7 hours, I don't know, but find where yours is. I'd recommend it. Also, eating. Maybe, you know, if you don't already, like if you just rush to eat, really appreciate the time you have to eat. Take those times, use those times, and just like savor the food in the moment. And I know I'm sounding like really cliche and stuff, but I'm just saying, like, that is like an essential, part of the day. Like, it is a time for you to actually socialize with people rather than sit in the books or in the practice room. And I'll stop rambling on it, but it gives you energy, it gives you fuel, helps you focus and work more efficiently. So that's why I mentioned that too. Now, more to the stuff I want to talk about. Organization. And so the thing is, you want to be as organized as you can be, especially in the first couple weeks, because the more organized you are, the more you know what's happening and is to come, and the more ready you are to tackle on this semester. So, in those first few days, it might be really overwhelming, but map out all these assignments that are going to come. And, if you have your placements, and I'd say once you have your placements like secured, like map out in the schedule, like what are the days you're going to go to the school and what are you doing? Like, what's the lesson you're probably going to do? Now, my class taught once a week. So, at Singleton, or sorry, at the school I went to, for 421. So I actually created like a list of like the like 20-ish days across the whole semester and like what was going to be done. Like, this is the day for this lesson, this is the day for this lesson. Goal of this is that, like, when things are coming, the dates of when they're going to be there. And so, like, you have this time slot open. And like this is like the times you're going to do that, rather than like, I don't know when this is due, I don't know when that's due. And that's so anxious, so much anxiety. So it's going to be anxious just looking at it all those first couple days. But I assure you that planning it and mapping it out like that, it's like that gives you a little bit of a sense of control for what you can control, and that is just incredibly valuable. Now, other than that, and this is the one thing the ed department might even tell you, is that, and then I have like a little template here so I don't forget things. But like, one of the biggest things that you could do to help yourself is presence. They tell you, and I agree, you want to stay in the week. You got to stay in the week and complete everything within the week. Like, and as long as you do, you'll be fine. Like you'll make it. Like everything will be good. But stay in the week. And I say this because I remember all the other terms. Like I kind of stay in the month. Like I look at the whole month. Like this is what's coming. This essay's in a couple weeks. Like I hate to break it to you, but there's going to be multiple weeks in a row where there's two or three different things going on. So the only easy way that I've found to maintain sanity with that is just focusing on that week. Sometimes the half the week. Like these are the things like I gotta do like coming up. These are the two big things, you know. Um and like sometimes it's just the day, you know. But I can't emphasize it enough because it's it's just like the things that they will tell you to do are a lot. And the way to handle it best is just to approach it literally that one step at a time, because it's like if you've ever like practiced a piece, it's not like you look at the whole piece and you're like, I have to do all that. It's like, well, maybe you do, but you have to start somewhere, and then you like complete it by section, or you complete it by pages, or however your method is. But you can't just play the whole piece necessarily immediately, especially if it's a challenging one for your level. So on the broader scale here, with these lessons, with the card paper, with all these other things, you want to set it in a way that is much more easier to look at, because otherwise it can be way too overwhelming. Um, and on a more micro view, I would say one of the best things to do is to reduce the scope of view, like the point of view. Like when things are challenging and crazy, reduce the goalposts down. Like the goalposts of what you have to do, you know, it is challenging to, I don't know, say build a boat. But if you start with the first, if you just look at putting a couple planks next to each other and nailing them together, that is comparably a lot easier. So when it comes to assignments, there's some questions, there's some things that, and this is mainly the e-portfolio, but it's like sometimes there's like a really big thing and you look at that and you're like, oh my God, I have to do all that. But if you do one question at a time, and I know you're like, oh, you're going to do that. And I know some of you might be like, well, why are you talking like this? And I'm like, well, sometimes when burnout and stress is so high, where it's like, I don't want to do anything. How can I do anything? What's going on? It's like, you have to look at one question and be like, this is the only thing I have to focus on for this moment, just this one, and then move on to the next one. This also helps with encouragement or motivation, because in those high stress moments, another thing I've heard of somewhere was that you can do the 15-minute method. Tell yourself, I'm only going to work 15 minutes. And if you want to keep working, keep going. If you don't, then allow yourself a moment to stop, like a break. Like more often than not, the result of that is that you get started and then you get into the flow state, and then everything is, well, probably fine. um, but it's like, even, it's just the idea is of reducing the goalposts is make it more attainable, make it seem so easy or easier to the point in which you're willing to work and get started and get going. Um, and because even at like the lowest of the low, like we're talking like maximum burnout that you've experienced and maybe beyond, the enemy of progress is stagnation. It is not doing things that is causing the problem, you know? So I advise that you take the time to just start doing something, because no matter how small it is, it's one step closer. It's one vote closer for your success, as you may have heard Mr. Morong say. But it's one step forward. It's like not playing the horn a day chops start to go. But even if you played a few notes, then the chops are still there, or relative to your instrument. I know some of you are vocal musicians, and that doesn't really apply as easily, but I think you get what I mean. Um, and speaking of practice, I will say, and I even heard this from the monster player Colin, that I know some of you are probably incredible practicers. Great on you figuring out what needs to be done so that you could help your students figure that out. He's told me, and I've had to use it, like a lot of this term, especially once it got busy around week 3, like probably practice 30 minutes like every 3 days. I know it's counterintuitive, but if you're playing an ensemble already, that might have to be your practice for the day, you know? And I know that's not like real practice, but like keeping your instrument in the condition that like your skills on the instrument in the condition that it currently is kind of like the new priority, considering that, you know, um, considering what you're facing, so that you're able to do what you need to do for the ensembles and everything. Which does go to another point. Um, I'm a major perfectionist. I know some of you probably are as well. Actually, it's 2 points. First point is, what matters is what they see. We can plan and plan and plan, and planning is great, but especially in crunch time, what matters is what the professors will see in the end. So if the planning is a form of procrastination and you recognize that, it's like you just gotta go. Just gotta go and start doing what it is. And this I mean especially for like the lessons you're doing. It's like you're thinking like, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do that? And it's like if you're writing that all out, it's like when you're in the lesson, you're not gonna be able to read those paragraphs. What matters is making the presentation something that, or this is just how I end up doing presentations in class. It's like making the presentation in a way that reminds you of what needs to be done for students and like helps the students out. Now you can think all those methods out if it helps you, but I'm just urge you to remember that what matters is in the end, what are your students in the classes seeing? What are the professors seeing? What are they doing? What are, that's what it's checking boxes, it's going through hoops, like Dr. Heil says. It's what do they see? They want to see like you being a professional, developing a professional stuff. So thinking, planning, yes, you got to do it, but in crunch time, just keep in mind that because this makes it a little bit easier, what matters is what they see. And this brings me to another point too, and this is something my counselor even told me. Um, it's not going to be perfect anymore. No, not anymore. I'll rephrase. It's not going to be perfect, like at this level of workload. Like it's not going to, like there will probably be sacrifices made in some places. And that's just a part of life. We sacrifice things to even do this. I'm sacrificing time because I want to help you all. But what I mean is like, look at the other classes you're taking, the assignments, grade values, everything. I mean, these ed classes are kind of the priority. That's the way they talk about it, but that's also kind of the way it is in the terms of degree. So the goal is to, of course, learn and grow and be your best selves. But in terms, like you gotta pass everything. Like, my microeconomics class, it was part of my minor. I missed like for the first time like ever like 3 assignments, and I actually kind of slightly bombed one of the exams. Not even slightly. I feel like I did. And did it hurt? Yes, but it allowed me the time to complete stuff for the kids in the classrooms, the lessons, the carp, the portfolio. It's like Where am I going to dedicate my time? The 1% of grade homework assignment for the week in the minor, or the 5 to 10% carb section or lesson, you know? It's priorities, it's prioritization, and, it's like what matters in the end is what you've learned. So as long as you're still learning, that's great, but if you need to make a sacrifice for the sake of the ed class, you know, I would say it might be necessary, and if your bar is set to the maximum perfectionism, then maybe lower it to like 80%, especially in those tough moments. It's okay, because grades, as we know them, are like the best methods of determining one's academic ability. But like what really matters, truthfully, is what you learn on the inside. But to account for both what you learn on the inside and what they need to see from you in order to reach the big goal, student teaching, and then graduation, and then your first career, is, you learn, but make tiny sacrifices if they are necessary. So you can calculate those at the beginning of the term. So, um, another thing I would say is to try to find beauty in the small things, you know, especially nature, art, eating food, you know, when our time is so limited to actually talk to someone, to actually, uh, you know, rest, look on our phone on something or something or the other, you know, remember the things that, you're grateful for. Look at, and I know it's hard, and this is kind of like a gratitude list kind of area, but it's like, you know, if you wake up and you write down all the things you're grateful for, it actually, and I didn't believe it really, but I tried it out and it actually really helps the brain. But also it helps to see the positive. It's like, look at all the trees that are growing right now. Look at how every leaf is different. Like, find the creativity, the beauty that is already here that we tend to overlook because we just see these things every day. And maybe this sounds elementary or maybe this sounds dumb, but I'm just saying it can help. It can help, keep a fairly positive outlook when the going gets tough, you know. And I'd recommend, if you have any thank you notes or anything from friends, you know, have those nearby to reassure you that, there are people that support you even when they may not be around, or you may not be able to hang out with them. You know, save those notes, maybe even hang them around your room. I don't know, you know, have something in your room to remind you, of the great person you are and the great things that you've done to get to where you are today. You know, um, these little things do help, in my opinion. You know, um, in this battle of sticking to it and going for it, it's like you need any tool you can get, and I'm just telling you that's another tool. Um, a much smaller thing, but also a big thing. And then this is a work in progress a lot for me, but be aware of your language. Like, the thing is, curiosity, exploration, but especially curiosity, is the enemy of fear. So, saying like, I get to see these elementary students, I get to do, try this thing out, I get to be culturally relevant, rather than saying I have to, I must. Yes, that's true. But if you say I get to, you tell yourself, I get to practice today. I get to play this concert today. I get to go to this thing today. You know, how curious. Like, today I'm going to discover whether this will work or not, or I'm going to do this or try this out. And, it's like having a curiosity mindset, having a positive kind of I get to try, I get to think, I get to do. versus have to is like crazy good for you for a while. While it lasts, and I say that because I'm struggling with that. But if it works for you, go for it. If it, and definitely try it. I would say um, it can really, really change the way you think about things. So I actually came up with a method that works pretty well. So if nothing else, I recommend that you take a look at this. Um, so here's kind of like a self-care miniature guide for panic. So first, step away. Remove yourself from the environment that you are in currently, like where you're really stressed, and find a way to release the energy. Run, walk, yell, maybe in your car or something. I don't know. If you're in a dorm, maybe pound at the bed at night. I actually did that once, and I never thought I would, but I did, and it actually helped a little bit. Um, Talk to a friend. Rant to someone who you trust, who's willing to hear it. Um, and why? Well, when you let it out, you're letting this tense energy outside of you, and it improves your focus. Now, nature has also been found to be a great way to improve one's well-being as well. So if you could walk or run around campus, and that's two in one in a way. So allow yourself to release that tension. It's not something we can think past. We have it within ourselves. It's a physical, like we have to get it out. So get it out. And so when it's out of your brain, then there's more room for you to focus on what you care about. Now, another thing is slow breathing. I know this is a cliche, but my counselor even told me, like straight up, and he's a real calm guy. He tries to get along well with things, but this was one thing he was strict on. He was like, "You can't think past this. You can't. You can't think it. You have to actually do it." And why? Well, it helps the nervous system calm down. That's the big thing. So what he recommended was like slow, like box breathing, you know. But I forgot. It also reduces heart rate, which calms you down a bit. But basically, breathe in for, pause, exhale. So like breathe in for, pause for four, breathe out for, pause for four, like a box. That was his. Yeah, I don't know if I did that right, but that was his idea, and it's pretty good if you use it just a few times in a row. I'm not saying to do it a ton, but it's good. It's really helpful. It helps calm you down after you've removed tense energy. You're calming down. Now the next thing is a presence exercise. This is that kind of scope thing I kind of talked about. And this is the idea of reminding yourself where you are. If I were to do this right here, and I have, I'd be like, well, I'm in a room, I'm sitting. I'm on the fourth floor. I'm in Stanger. I'm in Elmhurst. I'm in Illinois. I'm in the US. And take this as far out as you want. Yeah, it gets your brain to focus on something. But also, and this helps too, you're like, I am not in X stressful class. I am not, in practice, if that gives you anxiety. I am not doing X stressful obligation. I am, not doing this stressful activity. Point is helping you orient yourself to where you are and what stressful environment you aren't in that might be giving you some anxiety at that moment. And so, first, like we got it out. Now we're calming down, and now we know where we are. We have an idea of what we're doing and what we're not doing, just for a little bit. Then you can even expand on this, and you can focus your attention to silence, focus your attention to something very calming, a very, very calming piece of music, and rest in the less intense focus, or in other words, meditate. Meditation, though I did not do it much this term, can be very beneficial. I mention it because there were times that I try to just enjoy the silence for a minute, which is, I guess, a meditation, like a very short, like focusing on nothing for a minute. Um, and then here's the tricky part. Not very tricky, though, maybe the easiest part. But I say tricky because it's something I wouldn't normally think of. Start within 30 seconds after you finish this. Like, and the quicker the better, but start like right back into what you're doing after 30 seconds. Well, why? Well, doubt can come back, burnout can come back, all the stress and anxieties can come back. I heard and I read the book Atomic Habits. It was like, you have a great idea, there's something you want to do, you got to do it within 30 seconds, or else whatever else you're doing at that moment will take priority again. Um, and if it helps you as well as another motivator, you could also tell a friend or tell someone you're going to start, someone who might hold you accountable. Then that also acts as a motivator. Um, and then when you do start, I would recommend that presence thing again. Kind of start with the lower goalposts. Start in something that's a little bit more manageable. Not like I have to complete all these sections of this thing today. Just I have to complete this paragraph, this sentence, this statement. These are some things that I think are really helpful. Now, there's more. I would say I have stress eaten a lot. I have eaten way too much sugary things, and that is not good for me. So I don't have it figured out, but I do have some tools, and I hope the tools that I have shared with you are good, because we want to, I think, foster healthy habits, because unhealthy habits work in the short term but can really destroy the body in the long term. So I hope these ideas help. Sorry for rambling for half an hour. I was hoping this would be more like 15 minutes, but I hope you have a good day. And if nothing else, know that each of you are valued. I value each of you and your sanity and your well-being. Despite how this semester may treat you, I believe that you have the capability to make it, that you are strong, that you are smart, because how else would you have made it here? You've made it here for a reason. So congratulations on making it this far. And I look forward to graduating alongside all of you, So I believe in you. I believe you're capable. I believe you are smart and strong and great people. So I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'm doing the Midwestern goodbye. But I hope you all have a fantastic summer, fantastic semester. If you have any questions or any thoughts, or you want to talk about anything, or you want to rant about anything to me, feel free to go ahead. I'm here for you. This community is here for you. Your professors are here for you. And please never forget that. Bye, everyone.